Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. Body Armor has great tasting flavors like strawberry, banana, and orange mango with no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners. I am remote today because I just got through with the Barstool Classic, which is sponsored by Body Armor, and I was throwing those things down to stay hydrated and handsome as you see me right now. In a bold new look with the same great taste, get your Body Armor today at a Walmart or a local grocery store near you. Body Armor, choose better. And NASCAR wants to remind you that Mexico City is cerca. That means close in Spanish. I looked it up. Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is the crown jewel of the NASCAR Mexico Series. Tight corners and fast straights push drivers to their limits with door-to-door battles all race long. Anything can happen in Mexico City, where bold moves and dramatic finishes are part of the show, and the fan experience is electric with passionate crowds, nonstop energy, and a celebration of motorsports culture. Tickets are going fast, so lock yours in now at NASCAR.com. Don't miss the excitement. Myself and Spider are going to be there, and we're bringing a handful of guys from the Chicago office, so it should be a good time. Feel the adrenaline in Mexico City. Get your NASCAR Cup Series ticket now for edge of your seat racing action. Secure your seat today at NASCAR.com. All righty, boys, welcome on back. How you guys doing? Everybody okay?
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Doing well. I thought we had a great weekend of racing. You know, we had the triple header with F1 and then, Indy 500 and then, of course, the Coke 600. I was entertained throughout. I woke up, popped on the F1 race immediately, and then just kind of spent the rest of the day, all day, watching motorsports, which was awesome. I don't know how you guys feel, but I had a great weekend. I would have loved it to go a little bit different of a way there at the end. I added William Byron to my card Sunday morning when honestly I was concerned about Larson. There was rain coming down. They pushed back the start of the Indy 500, and I said, you know what? Give me Byron. Just God forbid anything happens with scheduling or logistics. And it just didn't go my way. But other than that, it was great and a treat. And unfortunately, F1 is kind of robbing us of the triple header next year, given the moving of Monaco race. But no, I thought it was awesome, guys.
I had Denny and to win and Byron as best Chevy. So I was sitting pretty for a long time until I wasn't. But like you're right, just great weekend of racing. So we'll get into it. Well, I mean, we're going to spend a considerable amount of time blowing Amazon on this show, just like everybody else is, because it just seems like everyone's just so happy to have good TV again. So we'll get into it. I did go to that Earnhardt premiere last week down in Charlotte, and then I went to Junior Motorsports, a fan appreciation day. Very nice for them to invite us down. So it was definitely worthwhile. The second two episodes just dropped. So now all four episodes of the Earnhardt documentary about Dale Sr. are available on Amazon Prime. They only showed the first one at the premiere, and even Dale got up there and said, this is just an appetizer. And he's right. It really gets going around the third and fourth episodes, but it's extraordinary. So go and watch that. You know who I met? I met Jimmy Johnson's brother.
Nice.
Yeah, I went to the fan appreciation thing. I saw Freddie. I met Kelly Earnhardt's daughter. I didn't know the young lady Carson Elledge who does Door
She's
Bumper
great,
Clear.
Large.
I didn't know that was Kelly's daughter. I'm just not paying attention.
She's been friendly to us a bunch. I'm a fan of hers, and I love that she's now doing that pod. So love that.
Yeah, she's a big voice for the Cars tour. I want to buy her a T-shirt. She wanted to give it to me for free, and I turned it down, which is unlike me, as you know.
It's true.
I met Carl Edwards for the first time. The guy's a brick
Nice.
shithouse, absolute fucking cut from steel. And then there were a handful of
He's
drivers.
popping up everywhere.
Yeah, all of a sudden he goes from being invisible to being just about everywhere, and I think people are fucking loving it.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's getting paid a ton of money. But there's a bunch of drivers at the premiere: McDowell, Allgaier, Chastain, Suarez, Zilich, Noah Gragson. And I thought a funny thing I was going to mention to you is that when Dale got up and thanked everyone for coming, there's probably like 300 people there. He was like, including some of the drivers. Just so you know, I looked at who RSVP'd and who showed up. So fucking Dale's taking attendance on who comes.
I love that.
Comes to his shit. So I love that. But like Spider said, full week of racing. Corey Heim did Corey Heim things. He won on trucks, and then Chastain came in P2. Xfinity, William Byron won, and Zilich finished P2. Catherine Legg, another update. She had another DNF, and the day before that race, she told Us Weekly that she's not interested in fitting into any boxes. And this is her quote: "If you're a certain way to somebody, that says more about them than it does about you. As you get older, you just kind of accept it and you don't care anymore. It's not really my problem if you think I'm wearing too much mascara." Thank you for that, Catherine. And she didn't finish another race. On to Cup. Before the race started, I'm down with all the patriotism. You know that. I love that shit. And I ate every one of those fucking things up. The individual drivers having the passed away heroes on their cars. They had some young lady sing the national anthem and she fucking pured it. Pete Hegseth got up there and said, "Gentlemen, start your engines." He didn't do that, drivers start your engines bullshit. It just seemed real fucking American. So I got a real kick out of the whole thing. You know what I mean? Um, and one of the things that they started to pass around before the race is all the milestones. We were lucky enough to have Jimmy Johnson in last week because it was his 700th start. And there's a couple other milestones. I'm just going to see how every one of them did. Jimmy, 700th start, finished dead last, P40. That's his last one, right? Can we all be in agreement that Jimmy wanted to get to 700? He's fucking done, especially after talking to him last week. Didn't it seem like he's fucking done?
No, I disagree
Do you?
completely. Yeah, I asked him about his future plans, and he made it sound like he doesn't really have any. If anything, it sounded like he was going to race more. That was my takeaway. Maybe I misunderstood what he was saying, but I would
Mhm.
implore everyone to go back and listen to that interview and come to their own conclusion. But I'm of the opinion he's going to be around for, the near extended future. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but I would expect him to be racing this year or next year like he has been kind of this year.
He's just getting a lot of those deep in the field finishes, though.
Yeah, but then again, I mean,
But he's also Jimmy Johnson.
and also, what did he finish second at the Daytona 500 this year? I granted
Third,
that
I
there was a
but
shit ton of wrecks, but I mean, that's kind of what racing is. So, um, yeah, I don't
he'll
know. He
race
finished
more.
third. Yeah, he finished third. But I would like to keep him around. I mean, I thought he did a great job this weekend. He was at the Indy 500. He took Tom Brady in a car, kind of as like 2 7-time champions, led the field to green, and then he was back in Charlotte. So I loved it. I thought it was great. I think it's good keeping him around. We talk about a guy like Carl Edwards, who it's great that he's, back in the sport. But there's more guys than not that just kind of disappear. Like I don't think we'll see Martin Truex for a while,
No.
unfortunately. So I think we need to value and appreciate Jimmy's investment into the sport and willingness to remain involved. So even if he wants to finish 40 every week, I'll take it.
So it doesn't do that like it does with other sports, watching your favorite fighter stay around too long. That's how I see it now. And the thing is, I really like Jimmy. I think he's great. And obviously, when you hear of all of his accolades, and he's not on anyone's cards anymore, I don't. At what point will it then start to ruin the legacy? Then, Spider.
But well, can I? You mind if I
Yeah,
jump
go.
in?
No,
It's
please.
it's different than like the boxer thing, where I think like it's almost like golf, where like you see Freddie Couples out there once in a while, and you don't expect him to still compete, but like he may he may have an unbelievable hole out or something where it's like cool to see him in the field every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
I mean, I do think it's interesting, like kind of ironic that you're questioning his legacy when his team's name is Legacy Motor Club.
Yeah.
That obviously I want him to do better than finish dead last. And I honestly I do think he is capable of that. I just think for whatever reason, it hasn't gone his way. And I also think the second year part-time driving, it's way, way, way harder. It's a lot easier when these guys are getting looks every single week for 36 out of 52 weeks, to, kind of build momentum and find results, even if you're maybe not the best, most skilled driver in the field, which I'm certainly not saying that about Jimmy Johnson.
Right.
His, resume speaks for itself. But I think, it's just tough when he has limited looks. But I think him wanting to do it is almost like cool in itself. He easily could just be a team owner, easily could just be rich. He probably has everything he wants in life. And instead, he just wants to continue to race. So I kind of tip my cap to that, regardless of results.
Cool. I'm more a guy who says he should just fucking sit back, I guess. We'll never agree on this, Spider. If you want to fight about it, we can.
Yeah.
Fucking jerk.
We might have to. He'll be that washed up fighter you're talking about. You hate seeing
Exactly.
fight.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Daniel Suarez had his 300th start. He finished 36, took out Blaney and Larson with him. We're at that halfway point in the regular season. We can start talking about hot seats. Is Daniel Suarez in the hottest seat in NASCAR right now?
I don't think so, honestly.
We spoke about it last
I
night.
think, yeah. I think, and granted, thank you so much to Daniel Suarez. We're recording on Wednesday. We had him come in the office this morning, so I got to talk to Ross, who you guys will hear our interview. Granted, it was a little bit more brief than I would have liked. Understandable though. Ross is super busy right now following the win, but Daniel's in town for some Chicago and Mexico City promo, and he was nice enough to give us 30 minutes this morning. So him and Julia came by. I spoke to him briefly about kind of hit his season, where his head's at, looking forward to Mexico City, as well as Julia Piquet, forgive me if I'm botching that pronunciation,
Sure.
won the better half dash this year. So it was cool getting her take on that. And she's a driver just like her husband, Daniel, is. So they were great. I'm pulling for them. I think, honestly, and I go back to what I kind of shared a couple weeks ago when I asked this question to someone in the industry. They said SVG might be the first to go at Trackhouse. So that's kind of the way I lean. I typically tend to trust people super involved in the sport more so than myself, who just scrubs messaging boards and is deep in NASCAR Twitter. And I think if Mexico City is going to be a thing for more than just 1 year, I think Suarez is a guy that's instrumental in those efforts. So I would love to see him remain at Trackhouse. Nothing against SVG. Large, everyone that listens to the show knows how you feel about him. But me personally, I like the guy. I like him, and I hope he sticks around. I don't know if that means Zilish, comes up a year from now, or if he'll be, truly on the Cup Series in the next year in February. But I don't know. There's just too much talent at Trackhouse, as much as it might not have been reflected this year. I do think they have some good pieces. And personally, if the call were up to me, I would like to see Daniel remain in the seat. But then again, you asked, does he have the hottest seat in the sport? I don't know who does, because a lot of guys you look at have turned things around and had better years from where they were at last year. I look at most improved. Shout out Daniel Cespedes on Twitter. He does a great job with all the graphics and data. Most improved drivers this year from last year. Zane Smith last year was averaging a 29th finish. He's now averaging 20.4 averaging finishing position this season. Granted, his DNF this week does not help. Austin Dillon's the second best, seven spot difference. Last year he was averaging 25th and a half average finishing position. This year he's at 18.5. So I don't know. In terms of the worst, the guys that have regressed the most, it's Brad Keselowski, who has a difference of 10.3 finishing position, and Ty Gibbs, who's at 8.4, worse than last year. Not to say Ty Gibbs is going to get replaced,
but he would probably have the hottest seat.
You
Yeah.
think
You think
so?
that is? He's one of the guys who did
name wasn't.
Yeah. His milestone was his 100th Cup start this weekend with a P24 result. Somebody was throwing that around too. Is Ty Gibbs' seat hot? But I assume not, right? I'm not saying that in a bad way. I like Ty as a driver, but it's grandpa.
And he's young.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would just say, from like the what's the word? Not standard of the ride, but just basically like it's a Joe Gibbs car, and how
the
he's
expectation
performing.
is for it to be better, for sure. Absolutely. But I also think he's a guy, and I know tenure is a word that I feel like exists in like elementary schools and high schools regarding a teacher that's been around forever. And that doesn't really exist in NASCAR, but I feel like Ty Gibbs in the 54 is the closest thing to that we'll see. You don't
tenure?
I think his job is super safe.
I would think like the opposite. I think the reason he would keep his job is because he's young and still is like able to improve something, not because he's like old and been there a long
Well,
time.
I get okay, sure, I'll hear that argument. I guess my point is, I think like people will throw his name around, being like, "Look how bad he's driving." And sure, don't get me wrong, his 8.4 difference of position last year he was averaging 12.4th average finishing position. This year he's 20.8. But in terms of like his position in the team, I think he's fine. I can't ever see a world where Joe Gibbs removes him. I might see Ty Gibbs taking it upon himself and say, hey, I'm going back down. I'm going to drive the car that I now own in the Xfinity series, and I'll come back to Cup knowing that I'll have future opportunities when I feel things are more going my way. But I don't think I would be surprised, super stunned, more surprised when Tyler Reddick announced that he was going to 2311 if Ty Gibbs loses his job.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I just think he would be on a hot seat if his name was his last name was Smith.
Absolutely.
So if you guys, and obviously the SVG thing I play up, I think he's a nice guy. His dad is nice, his sister's nice, the whole deal. But if you guys had to cut one, keep one, SVG, Daniel Suarez, Spider, you had said that you would cut SVG and keep Suarez. I'm in that camp too.
And it sucks because I just think SVG is a road course ringer, and we've had a couple road course opportunities where he has not gotten it done. Right. His position on the team is to win those road course races. Where I look at Daniel Suarez, and I believe he finished second at Las Vegas this year. He's won on ovals before, and then he simultaneously has the karting and kind of road course, street course, whatever you want to call it, pedigree as well. So for me, he's not a one-trick pony. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded, and that's kind of what you want if you're putting a guy on your team. And I know obviously NASCAR has prioritized street course racing, road courses, etc., more and more every year that goes by. But to me, I just think that Suarez is more well-rounded.
So Jimmy Johnson's not going anywhere. Suarez above SVG. Ty Gibbs isn't going anywhere. And then the other person who celebrated an anniversary is Ryan Preece, had his 200th career start. He snuck into the top 10 with a P9 finish. I thought you'd mention him as most improved, but I guess from the metrics that gentleman used, it just doesn't translate. But 13
Who's
races.
That, Ryan Preece?
Yeah, 13 races into RFK, his 6th full-time Cup Series season. He's already matched a career high in top 10s. And is there another RFK driver who looks like they have a shot in the playoffs at the moment? And the answer is no. So he's my most improved, even though he doesn't know how to say my fucking name. So I keep writing him down as Brian Priest. But you know what I mean? It seems like those guys celebrating their 700th, 300th, 200th, and 100th.
Yep.
Brian Priest is the guy who's probably most safe and sound.
It is. I do want to mention that this is through the first 13 races of each season. So this is based off data from 13 races beginning of the 2024 season, and then the 13 races we've seen this year in this race. So, and also there's some surprising names on here. The guy worst is Brad Keselowski with a difference of 10.3 in the wrong direction from where he finished last year.
Yeah.
But right above him is Carson Hocevar. So, and if you ask me how's Carson been running this year compared to last year, I think he's, looked a lot more sporty. Miles ahead.
I would have had him. Wait, so he's next on the list for
he's averaging
regressing?
Yes. He's averaging, well, I guess he has the second to worst average finishing position through 13 races in 2025 with a 23.1. Wow. Unless I'm reading this wrong, but that's how this.
No, I mean, if Brad K is at the.
But I also think what
Hocevar's had a great year.
Did he get a DNF?
He must just have a ton of DNF.
Yeah, this week, he ran so fucking well until his engine blew up. So he's shown those. That's why it's so great with Chili's. He's shown that consistent brilliance where he's been out front and he's made some moves. He's made people angry. He's all that kind of stuff. So he's getting a lot of press, and I think he's been applauded by the fans for his aggressiveness and probably shit on by his fellow drivers for that same aggressiveness. But yeah, if the numbers don't translate, then they just don't translate. But I think everyone is on board saying that Hocevar is a fucking G this year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. I mean, he's a guy, I think he's the number one driver at Spire right now. And I say that, with confidence and comfortably, no discrediting Michael McDowell or Justin Haley. But if you ask me one guy that's been turning heads this year, it would be Hocevar. So to see him second to last through 13 races is a little surprising. And I also think that my takeaway from that is like, this one piece of data isn't, end all be all. I think it's just an interesting graphic to
No,
look
I
at.
love
That's
it.
all.
Yeah, it's a talking point. I did mention at the start of the show, so I'll reiterate it now. We do have Ross Chastain coming up in just a couple of minutes. Spider sat down with them today. It's hot off the presses. So we're going to have that to you
Yep.
in just a couple of seconds. But one of the things that I'm going to say is I had two gripes with Amazon. One was somebody's got to fucking take shit off drivers' lips afterwards when they do
Yeah,
like that post thing. Did you see that fucking thing? And it was
I
white.
unfortunately did.
It didn't
It
look
looked
like
like the
fucking,
grossest.
yeah.
It looked like a zit or like something like, oh yeah,
Why the
I feel
fuck do
bad.
they do that? There's no rush. There's no rush in handing a guy who just got out of a hot car a hot towel. Shit, they do it to me
Yeah,
when I eat sushi. So I
I
mean,
was gonna say,
get the shit off him. You know?
yeah.
Okay.
Or at least if you're the guy putting the mic in his face off camera, like maybe give him one of these as you're holding the mic to his face. Like let him know, hey man, like wipe your brow,
Yeah.
wipe your face, wipe your beard, I guess.
The only other gripe that I had is I told you about how much I love the patriotic stuff. When we were at the Coke 600 last year, I loved it when they turned off the engines during the stage two break. And I was really looking forward to seeing it. I was telling people we were watching it with a big group down the beach, and they went to commercial for that, which I understand, right? But to see that thing live, you can't discount it. I thought it would transfer well onto TV. They didn't show that, but otherwise, kudos to Amazon. William Byron, it was his race to win. Denny said he stepped on his own dick. He led 281 laps, swept the first three stages because of the long race. Denny isn't taking any kind of blame for slowing him down, but it seems like people are in Logano's kitchen for doing it. Did you think that Joey Logano, who I've been absolutely glazing on social media lately, as was at fault for trying to stay on the lead lap and by doing that blocking William Byron?
I'll start. I hate to be like kind of just a parrot or just a guy that just repeats takes I see online. Watching the race, I didn't really think anything of it in real time, but then I saw all the criticism even in the post race interview, which I loved.
Mm-hmm.
I think Amazon did a great job with the post race coverage. It seems like Byron kind of alluded to that in the post race interview, and he said that kind of Logano kind of might have had an impact on the result of that race, which I did not love. Like I said, a little additional context. I did have Byron 5-1 on DraftKings to win the race, so maybe
that always changes.
Maybe I'm a little bit butthurt, but at the same time, in this interview with Ross that's upcoming, I asked him about this, and I think he has a really interesting answer. I don't know if I should just tip it, but he basically exonerated Denny Hamlin. And he said maybe Joey will be raced the way that he raced others in the future. So by that metric, that kind of leads me to believe that Ross is of the opinion that Logano did have some sort of impact, whether I don't know how big or small. But he said, maybe that's coming back for Logano when he's leading a race. So I defer to the drivers. That's something I'm not. It's hard to watch on TV, despite how good of a job Amazon did. Aero blocking is something I'll never really understand unless I experience it firsthand, which we all know is never going to happen. So you just kind of have to take after the drivers. If Byron thinks that, they kind of did him dirty, then I tend to agree. And then hearing Ross say what he said, I think is only credence to that argument. But it did kind of suck. At that point in the race, I was hoping Byron swept every single stage of the Xfinity race. He swept every single stage of the Cup race up until the last one. And I thought Ross was trimmed out, as the experts say. I thought he was done. I thought he used up his tires. It seemed like he was really gunning for Byron's bumper there for a minute, and he was in striking distance. And then he kind of fell back. And I said, okay, hopefully for the sake of my bet on DraftKings, that is the extent of what Ross has to offer. And then, obviously we know how the race ended. He came back around and ended up getting the win. And I think Ross led 8 total laps in this race. Not to say he's undeserving for the win because of that. But it just kind of stunk. It didn't go the way that I was hoping. But I thought it was great because start to finish, there was something to watch for. Even to the last couple laps, I wasn't sure if Byron had anything to offer once Ross took the lead. seeing Ross run him down was awesome, as much as it sucked for my bank account. But I thought it was great finish, and I'm interested to see kind of what the driver's position is on this debate.
Ross Chastain was the first driver to start dead last, not due to a penalty, and win since Richard Petty in the 1971 spring race at Richmond. He did have a penalty for use of a backup car, but he also qualified 40th because he officially didn't make a qualifying lap. So that's a little bit of a nuance, but congratulations to him. It's a stat. And then I saw this, Larry Mack, I love Larry McReynolds. He tweeted, 34 years ago, I was able to win the Coca-Cola 600 in 1991 with Davey Allison. That's Larry. That same week, Brandon McReynolds was born. Brandon, we both know. And tonight, Brandon was spotting for Ross Chastain in his win. So the dad won 34 years ago with Davey Allison, and then the son, the day the kid was born, and then the kid gets a win spotting for Ross Chastain 34 years later. That's pretty fucking cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love when things come full circle. That's kind of like the Harrison Burton win at Daytona last year. That shit still gets me choked up hearing his dad in the booth and seeing his raw reaction to his son getting his first Cup win. Obviously this is a sport that's run on multi-generations. You have so many guys whose dad did it before them, whether it be driving the car or in this case, kind of spotting or crew chief. So I thought that was awesome. Honestly, I missed that. So I appreciate you sharing that, Large. Great moment. And that kind of stuff is always, I'm always rooting for, as much as I was unaware of that in real time.
If you guys look at the rundown I sent you, this is the section reserved for blowing Amazon. I'll go first. I had a very, very good experience watching the race. A better experience. And I haven't piled on with the Fox coverage. All the people who've hated the Fox coverage lately, I haven't necessarily piled on just because I don't know any better. And now I know a little bit better. That was fucking awesome. Spider, I know you and I can talk about it forever. I'm going to go to a guy who's watched racing for a little while. Moonhead, is this back to like a golden age of NASCAR coverage, or is this something so new that it seems like Amazon read the comment section and they addressed everything that people didn't like except for the lack of horsepower and softer tires? So what was it like for an old head like you, an ancient fucking asshole, watching it on Amazon Prime? I mean, what was your experience?
To me, it was kind of the best of both worlds, where the enthusiasm and hype and the pre-race and post-race aspects of it felt like back in the day when we got that kind of coverage, or at least at track versions of that kind of coverage. But during the race, it felt, obviously the hype kind of lived up to what I expected from back in the day when the broadcasts were really good. But there were just so many new aspects and so many different things, obviously, with the advancements in technology. Like I liked the I forget, it had some sort of goofy name, the fuel buddy, or I don't know what it was called, but the thing where it was like calculating fuel in real time and shit like that. Just so many things that you don't really think about that make the experience as a viewer that much better. And then I loved the commercials, the way they were able to do commercial free for the last however many laps, and all the side by side stuff. Yeah, like just stuff like that, the little stuff where, I don't know, it felt like, to me, it felt like that race mattered. And it'll be interesting to see what they can do with Nashville, or a race that's not, considered like a crown jewel of NASCAR, and how they can bring the hype to that. But I don't know. I felt like when I started watching Prime, it felt no different than the Indy 500 did on Fox. And that was cool, because I feel like a lot of times when you turn on the NASCAR race following the Indy 500, NASCAR kind of feels like the minor leagues, and it didn't feel like that this weekend.
It's awesome. I
mean, strong agree.
Yeah, you loved it, right, Spider?
Yeah, I think one thing you said, Large, is it felt like Amazon was reading the comment section. I go back to our interview with Dale Jr., who said, he's a guy that gets in the messaging boards, and whether he's commenting or just reading feedback. This felt like a broadcast that had his kind of fingerprints on it. It seemed like he was vocal and instrumental in what we saw in the race. I thought they did a great job covering the race. And as Moon had alluded to, I think the last 50-ish laps were commercial free. And then also, as I said previously, the post-race coverage was awesome. I feel like a lot of times they rush off air to get to, out of the TV block or whatever's coming on next. And given that it was Amazon, they could just stay alive as long as they wanted, and they did a great job. We got to hear from a lot of drivers. I thought it was awesome. I tend to agree with you though, Large. I do think people have been overly critical of Fox. Not that I'm like some sort of Fox fanboy, but I definitely think Amazon beat Fox, but I don't think Fox was as bad as people made it out to be.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I think that hopefully the addition of Amazon will allow the other TV partners to, create a more competitive product and kind of up their production quality, which is a win for everyone. So I think it was a great first showing. I am kind of cautiously optimistic. I feel like a lot of people are going to have the bar set so high now that God forbid if they miss like one small detail or something like that, they might be subject to criticism. And we all know NASCAR fans are some of the most critical ever. If there's one fan base that just lets you know truly how they feel, it is the NASCAR fans. So hopefully we'll keep it going. I'm personally a little bit. I'm of the opinion, despite what I just said, that it's going to be after the 5 races that they broadcast, we're going to be like, damn, I wish they were still,
yeah, we're gonna miss it. I think.
Yeah, but again, I think kind of to use Dave Portnoy's quote, "Rising tides lift all ships." If you have one broadcast partner that's just on top of shit, I think
It'll up their game.
By default, the others are going to have to evolve and get better, which I'm looking forward to.
I met when we were at the Chicago race this year. A guy named, I think his name is Sam Schwartzen. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't. That name sounds familiar.
He's I think he's friends with Big Cat. He used to play football at Stanford, but he I think works for Amazon. He did a bunch of stuff with XFL, stuff like that. But I think he had a big role in kind of like setting up the Amazon coverage, and we ended up not meeting, but I'm sure I wasn't the only one he asked, but he was like setting up a meeting just to be like, you watch NASCAR. What do you want to see? What kind of like features would you want added? Stuff like that. So I bet they put a ton of legwork into just like talking to people who watch the sport, and it kind of felt that way.
Yeah.
Because it had a lot of elements of things that I would want to see.
But they also and sorry, go ahead, Large.
They also took a couple of chances, I think, that weren't mentioned in the comment section, like little things, people not wearing suits, right? Like that sometimes can come off as kind of bush league to see Dale Jr. with the T-shirt coming out from underneath but I think it wound up working. The amount of cursing that they're allowed to show, again, I don't think that's something that they planned on, but it's something cool because it's streaming. And it can't go to a race where they're constantly having these guys, Dale Jr. Well, look what that cunt just did. They can't do that. But to have people drop F-bombs on their radio, that was cool as shit, right? They're drinking a beer afterwards because the post-race was just kind of a cool hang. Byron showed up. He wasn't too sour about it. I don't know. It seemed like there was a big convergence of everything came together for that race. And again, I've heard some people complain about Corey LaJoy. If they were to do a report card, it seems like Corey may have gotten the worst thing. I didn't notice that at all. The spit on the lip was fucking inexcusable, and I'm still going to go to my grave with that. I can excuse him for not showing the moment of silence, all that, but otherwise, everything else hit for me. But let me ask you something, and it's something Moonhead alluded to. Can they keep it up? Because Coke 600, we're new on Amazon. We got rid of the fucking cartoons, like all this stuff. We're going to get in. They only have 5 races. That's the benefit. But, if people aren't cursing and the races aren't that exciting and all that shit, is somebody going to have to pop a titty out? Like, how can they keep this at this high level you know what I mean? They started with excellence. Can they do any better, or can they be consistent? Do you think?
Yeah, I think though. I mean, and hopefully we're not like scoring each broadcast, but just the crew of guys they have assembled and just the voices and the energy. As long as I think as long as we get good races, the broadcast will match the energy. And if it's a shitty race, you can only do so much to save that with the broadcast. But I think they have everything set up in place that if the race is good, we're going to have no issues with how it's broadcasted, and we're going to love it.
Because all they have left now is Nashville, Michigan, Mexico City, and Pocono. So they have the opportunity to have some pretty good racing. Maybe the weak spot.
And I think what
Nashville? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I think what they do with Mexico City that'll be their time to shine. Because I feel like they could be super unique and covered in ways that we haven't seen a road course like that covered. I think that'll be kind of one that we could go back and judge them on and see if they did a good or bad job.
Okay, so we're all in agreement there. Amazon, good, right? I mean, what they did was fantastic. I have another section reserved for Kyle Larson failing doing that. Again, I'm not a huge fan of that double. I don't see the fucking draw to it like most people do. I'm not happy that he didn't make it, but he didn't. So do we have to sit through this again for another year? Do you guys want it? Larson is quoted, so I don't really think it's worth it, but I'd love to run the Indy 500 again. Just doing the double, I think, is just logistically too tough, right? And now they're showing stuff about him being maybe frustrated in the car when McLaughlin called him a fucking idiot after he spun out on the pace lap and his mic was on. But the Indy ratings fucking soared, not because of Larson. A lot of it had to do with they opened it up in local markets. Vibs was telling me how it was always a blacked out race to like local markets in Indiana. So I'm sure has something to do with it. But otherwise, there was a lot of pomp and circumstance, and he didn't finish either race. Do you guys want to see this again, or are you as sick of it as I am? I don't think you are.
I have an interesting take on this.
Go.
And this is going to be a hot take, I kind of lost respect for Kyle Larson in all of this, and I feel like this was an opportunity for him to gain respect, gain fans. You look at his Indy 500. Who was it? Scott Dixon, who wrecked right away, and as soon as Scott Dixon wrecked, I believe Kyle Larson said this fucking idiot on the radio.
Well, McLaughlin. Too large. Yeah, Scott McLaughlin.
McLaughlin, yeah, excuse me. And then he drove by and he stuck his thumb out, nice job, asshole. And then he ended up wrecking on his own accord. To me, Kyle Larson, I love that he did it. I think it's good. Get attention from Indy fans, which is obviously a huge market, as you just alluded to. But at the same time, there are more drivers in there that are in there every single week after week, competing for the highest fucking achievement in their sport. And you just kind of acted like, this is all about me. Hopefully no one fucks up my scheduling. It's not the race does not revolve around. Exactly. That's kind of the vibe I got. So for him to call a guy who has, a pretty good career inside of IndyCar to make light of him wrecking out and spinning, and then also doing it himself is just kind of crazy. And then I will say in the Coke 600, I don't think that was necessarily his fault. He was caught in the carnage, but he did look absolutely wiped out. He looked exhausted. And I get it. I mean, I'm not saying this is an easy feat, as much as, Tony Stewart, who came on the pod a couple weeks ago, said that there was no doubt in his mind that Kyle Larson could complete all 1,100 miles. But I just think at this point, it kind of sucks, because I'm also of the opinion, like Larson said, he said he doesn't really think it's worth it. He would love to run the Indy 500 again, but just doing the double is too logistically tough. And that's my fear, because now I'm of the opinion, and this is off nothing other than my internal thoughts, no evidence to support this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we could see an instance where Kyle Larson steps away from racing sooner than expected to go explore other assets or facets of racing, other disciplines of racing, whether it be, okay, I'm going to go, drive IndyCar like Tony Stewart did, like Jimmy Johnson did, and kind of step away from something that he's so good at. So, I don't know. I understand. Obviously it's a tough feat. I don't necessarily love the way that he responded to adversity, in this race. And then obviously the Coke 600, he wrecked, but that one I'm kind of willing to give him a break on. I think it's the Indy 500 wreck that doesn't sit well with me, especially given, his reaction to other people wrecking that have been doing this a lot longer than he has. So that I didn't love, but I mean,
should he
I'm
do
not
it
gonna
again?
knock him.
Spider? No.
Honestly, I don't think he should do the double again.
Okay.
No, I don't think he should.
Quigs?
I would love to see it, and I think it's a great feat, but
Mm,
I don't think he should do it again.
Definitely not anytime soon. If he wants to maybe try it again, but he doesn't need to do it next year.
It's
Like,
expensive. And he had
yeah,
he had I was listening to Denny last week, and the guy's like, yeah, I couldn't get on the jet because Kyle has his camera crew with him. I mean, this is much more than just having to buy 2 fire
yeah,
suits. It's fucking expensive. So maybe not next year, but maybe do it again down the road, Quicks.
yeah. I mean, like, I don't hate it. I got nothing against it, but it like I don't know. He's not gonna run it every year. I think he went 2 years in a row. It's caused him enough issues and drama. He probably himself wants to not do it again next year. But like, I don't know if he wants to do it in 2030. That would re up my excitement and be like, all right, let's give it another go.
I
Like
just
I would be more like my excitement level if he did it next year versus 5 years from now is way different.
I also think it loses its luster every single
yeah.
time. Like
Yeah,
last year was like appointment television. Not
yeah,
to say that I didn't sit down and, like I said, I watched like 12 hours of racing on Sunday, but a second year in a row, it was just like kind of like lost its luster. At least from where I sit, it didn't seem, as special to me as the first shot. And I don't know, maybe that's my own fault, but I just think the more you try to do it, it's like the less and less cool it gets. I kind of agree with Quigs. If you take a little hiatus from these efforts and revisit it in years future, that might be better and reinvigorate some of that kind of magic that people were expecting to see. But it just kind of sucked. To see him wreck on his own accord in the Indy 500 and then simultaneously be the favorite on Sunday's Coke 600 and not be able to and again, that wasn't really his fault. He got
But it
clipped
still
trying
happened.
to avoid a
Spider,
wreck.
it still
Right.
fucking happened. And this is the pinnacle of motorsport. That's what I'm saying. Like Jimmy Johnson is the guy, but I don't want him in a field at the Coca-Cola 600 when there's somebody who's probably better in a Gen 7 car, perhaps. Kyle Larson, I don't think has a chance to win the Indy 500, to be honest with you. So I don't
But
like
let me play devil's advocate.
go.
Would you have tuned into the Indy 500 if there were no
I still didn't.
NASCAR drivers?
I still didn't.
You
I
still
mean,
didn't.
yeah, I
Okay.
did. I had no fucking interest in it at all. I had no interest. And then, the only reason I was interested in the Indy 500 even afterwards is because Connor Daly pissed himself, and I love that guy. So I was talking to him, and that's funny. I like NASCAR. Like that's my whole thing. I fell in love with this stupid fucking sport, and now when Catherine Legg kind of fucked up in the Cup Series. They moved it down to Xfinity. I thought that was pretty cool. But to still have, I've never seen a sport where random fucking guys from other sports can come and play in the Super Bowl. I've never seen that shit before, and I don't think that it should fucking happen. I don't know. I'm that's just the way that I am. So maybe I'm a little fucking weird. I don't think Jimmy should be
Yeah.
in it. Maybe go and fuck around in Xfinity or drive some trucks. I know he has to do it for ad reasons too with his sponsors, but I don't know. The Larson thing I have zero fucking interest in it. I never did, and now I have even less interest in it. Do you want to see him run it again? Are you a big fucking simp for Larson Moonhead? You piece of shit.
No, not anytime soon. He needs to let it rest for a little bit. This year felt rushed, and I don't know. Just I basically echo everything Quigs and Spider covered, but I think if he runs the next 5 years a Cup and does his thing and racks up another championship or something, maybe he'll go into it with a mindset of it being a little more stress-free or even if the scheduling changes in a few years. But the way it is right now, it's not even it sucks to watch because I was sitting there watching it rain to start with, and then they wreck on the pace laps and all that, and all you're thinking the whole time is, oh, he's going to have to get out of the car to go to Charlotte, and then he wrecks anyway, and then he goes to Charlotte and wrecks, and it just kind of ruins the whole day. So I want to see him run the Indy 500 stress-free, whether it's a double or not, one day and see how he could stack up, but it's not worth all the chaos and bad press that I feel like the last two doubles have had.
I think NASCAR is so much better with Kyle Larson in it, so I don't want to see him leave, but I would be more interested if he left the Cup, as Spider had said, and tried to do Indy full time. Like actually tried to work on his craft for a whole season and whole off season and really deserved to be there more so than it just being something that's kind of fucking cool. All right. Let's lighten it up a little bit. There's somebody, her name is Nicole in Charlotte, who either dated or might be married to this guy, Ryan Reed. Ryan Reed's a guy who works with our guy, Jack Wood, truck driver Jack Wood. So that's where I knew Ryan Reed from. She was on X or something the other day, and she was like, I can't believe all the names that they have for girls who try to fuck drivers, which I love. Like, I think about that. What was the girl, Carly Bobby and Ricky Bobby, when she jumped from Ricky to Cal right afterwards? Do you know these fucking names, Spider? I'm going to read them out loud because I have a good time with them.
No, I don't. And I wish I did. I wish Nicole and Charlotte got this to us earlier, because I go back to our Carson Hocevar discussion, and I said he was hanging with the lot lizards, which I learned thereafter just means prostitutes. I did not mean that at all, and I want to take this time right now. Carson was not engaging with any prostitutes. Instead, he was taking time for the fans, some of which might have been females, but again, they were not prostitutes.
So lot lizards are prostitutes that hang around truck stops and they blow truckers, right? In like public showers and stuff. From what I understand, I don't know. So instead of lot lizards, they call pit lizards when they're fucking chasing it. I like that. They're also called racer chasers. Like rodeo has buckle bunnies, like girls who just want to bang rodeo guys who win those big fucking buckles, and then puck bunnies for like hockey girls. So racer chasers, pit lizards, they call them waffle bellies because some of these girls lean up against the fence to watch the race and try to get attention, and the fence leaves a fucking waffle on the belly. There's hauler crawlers and hauler hoppers, which I like. There's helmet lickers, which has a double entendre, right? Because they wear helmets and they also fucking. And then there's track snacks, paddock pussy, radiator hose, but spelled like HOES instead of radiator hose. Pole sitters, I made that one up. And then the last one was screwdrivers, because that's what they want to do is screwdrivers. I fucking love those. And I'm so glad I get. What's your favorite? Racer chaser, pit lizard, waffle belly, hauler crawler, helmet licker, track snack, paddock pussy's a little weird, radiator hose, pole sitters, and screwdrivers. What's your favorite?
Waffle belly got the best laugh out of me.
It's got to be a fucking waffle belly. Spider.
I kind of like screwdrivers. That's just like that one is a double entendre, if you will.
Yeah, I love it.
Helmet licker, I didn't like that one.
No, I wasn't crazy about it either.
You also just did the dick suck emote, so that was. We're gonna definitely clip that out.
Sure,
but,
of course, please.
Not like edit it out. I mean, like clip it out and
make it into a GIF.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's some good ones in there though. I think screwdrivers would have to be probably my favorite one. Pole sitter's not bad either. Track snacks,
okay.
I don't know. Some creative ones though.
Moon, you're the last word.
I've always liked hauler crawler. That one cracked me up. Yeah.
And the last thing I'm going to mention before I move on is that if it's in lacrosse, they call them lacrostitutes, which is fucking terrible. Good. Yeah, it's not too bad. All right, so we've been extremely lucky this past couple of weeks. We've been on a heater. So with Tony coming in, Dale coming in, I think we have Byron in next week. We had Jeff Gordon in a couple of weeks. We had Daytona 500 winner. Now we have the Coke 600 winner. So Spider's about to go 3 wide with Ross Chastain, and it's brought to you by Blue Chew. Have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And starting now, Blue Chew is offering a combo so strong it'll knock your socks off and your neighbor's socks off. You'll have to move towns with the amount of noise you'll be making. Blue Chew Max has arrived, and it combines the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable. This combo acts fast and lasts. Guys, be ready when she needs it and get your first month of Blue Chew free. Great sex is a few clicks away. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within a couple of days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. And the best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew won't stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house. That is the mission. So make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use the code Rubbin. Just pay $5 in shipping. That's promo code Rubbin, Rubbin. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. And with that, Let's talk with Spider and Ross Chastain.
Pumped to have Ross Chastain on the pod this week. Ross coming off a win at the iconic Crown Jewel Coke 600, the greatest weekend in motorsports, and now your name is cemented as a winner alongside there. How we feeling?
Feel good. It's been a couple of days, so I have recovered. We watched the sun come up Monday morning. It was great. Had a group that all met up after we got out of the track, but all the I guess pageantry, or I don't really know what to call it, but all the presentations that the track and NASCAR made to us, with the trophy, the ring. So I got this big thing on.
Thing sweet.
Lots of cool stuff with Marcus and SMI. So yeah, I've recovered though. I was a little dehydrated, I'd say, Monday.
I love it. I saw the photos of you guys partying, and it looked like the sun was coming up behind you. So, looked like a great time, and certainly well deserved. Unbelievable race. You know, you started at the end. You started at the back in a backup car and worked your way up all the way to the front. I thought, honestly, and again, I'm just a third party watcher, casual NASCAR fan. I thought you might have sent it too hard and tore up the tires, or you ended up pulling the rabbit out of your hat. Talk to me at the end there. Were you saving something? Did you know you had something left in the car? Or was that a strategic move, kind of giving Byron a couple car lengths and then waiting for the right time to make your move? Walk me through that.
Yeah, so coming out of the last pit cycle, about halfway through stage 4, we pitted 2 laps after them. And when I came out, I couldn't see the 24 and 11. I thought I was still in third, but we don't talk a lot on my radio. They just kind of let me go to work. I know they know that I'm going to run as fast as I can. I'm going to pass as many cars as I can, and if I have questions, I'll ask. So, we drove up past the 11, and the 24 was just up ahead. And with about 15 to go, I caught him, and he made 3 key blocks into turn 3, then into turn 1, and then back into turn 3 again. So that stalled me. I went from loose to tight behind him, got my front tires hot, I think, and I kind of thought it was over. I had a panic moment, just like physically in the car, like felt real hot and panicked, and cranked my cool shirt on, because we have those cool shirts y'all see us with the tubes of water, and it was off because it was comfortable, but then I got hot when he blocked me because I thought I'd lost the race, and then we were able to just hang on better. I was tight the rest of the race, but he got even tighter, and the 22 up ahead of him didn't help him. And he had a big moment where he actually got loose off turn 4. So off turn 4 on the lap I made the pass, I was actually so focused on the 11, which was to my left, that I didn't realize until I was on the straightaway how much I was catching the 24. And then I, at the start finish line, realized I'm going to get there. Second dog leg, I try to turn to go to the middle, and it's really tight. Balance is tight, so it won't turn. So I had to lift, and then I was able to get it to the left and get to his inside and take it from there. So didn't know. After leading up to 15 to go, I knew I was catching him, and I thought I'm going to be able to do this. And then he blocked really well, like driving all over the track to stay ahead of me, and it worked. And it took 10 more laps really to get everything reset and make another run. But I was just trying to run as hard as I could without burning my front tires. And he had a big moment there, and that gave us the opportunity.
You mentioned blocking, and one thing, they kind of alluded to in the post-race interviews, which I thought were great, not necessarily with yourself, but with William Byron, and then, of course, on NASCAR Twitter, which is oftentimes an echo chamber, was maybe some aero blocking done by either Joey Logano or Denny Hamlin. Did you experience that? I'm not even smart enough to really understand what that means. Did you think either of those drivers potentially gave you an edge and had a difference in the result of this race?
Definitely not the 11. He was side by side with me, which would actually hurt me, but we both caught the 24. The 11 was going by us at Mach 11. I mean, it was crazy with his new rights, and I think they made their balance better because he had fallen off a bit before he ran out of gas. Because I think he was trying to stay up there and pass the 24 and keep me behind, but I was able to get by him before he pitted. And the 11 definitely, if anything, hurt me because he was side by side with me, but we both caught the 24. And then the 22, I mean, that's his decision. He gets to do that. So I got no opinion really either way. It's his decision, and he made it to stay ahead of the leaders. And I'm sure if it comes back around the other way, he should be fine with it if somebody else stays in front of him when he's leading.
Absolutely. I want to talk to you. Obviously, you get this win, a massive crown jewel win, the first win of your career at Charlotte, and now you're locked into the playoffs. What do you think the ceiling is for Ross Chastain? What is it going to take more of to get you as a legitimate championship threat, or do you feel as though you're ready there?
No, we have plenty of room and runway ahead of us to go and keep making things better. I mean, go to Nashville, just look ahead to this week, and we've won there before. The 99 and I have been really fast there. Arguably, the year we won, Daniel was faster and unfortunately crashed in qualifying. So, um, yeah, I think that it's just as easy for me to crash in qualifying. You saw us crash in practice this past week. We blew a tire. So, yeah, not sure what to expect next, but I know that the processes we're implementing, y'all have heard me talk about wanting to be faster on Saturdays, and we unloaded not fast lap, not single lap, but overall an average pace. And throughout the run and practice, we were the best car. And yeah, people are going to point to the left rear tire that it blew and say we were pushing too hard, and maybe we were. We did make some adjustments going into the race, but yep, I feel like we keep honing in on that on those rear tires, finding the limit but not blowing them is key. And then yeah, keep putting efforts like we did on Saturday and Sunday to come in to build another car that showed a lot for Trackhouse. So yeah, definitely have some room to keep improving though, for sure. This is not kick our feet up and think we're going to keep winning races.
Wildly impressive for me to see, your team go to a backup car and then you seemingly look better than expected and end up winning the thing. What can you say about your team that you haven't already? I love the fact how, gracious and you gave them their flowers after the race, but talk about what your position was when you realized you were going to a backup car. Did you think, okay, this is it, I don't have a shot, or what was going through your head at that point?
I got the confirmation that we were going to a backup during the Xfinity race while I was calling the broadcast with PRN. So it was kind of right as I got up in the booth, and I left the garage just a few minutes earlier, and we were fixing our car, and I saw them doing it, and then got the text that no, we're going to go to a new car. So it was a lot of work. They're tired. I was talking to some of them earlier. We had a win lunch here today at the shop, and um, got the Coke machine rolling with some glass bottle Coke. So that was really cool to put a dime in and get a real glass Coke bottle out, old school. Um, and yeah, some of them they feel like they're just about caught up on sleep, but not completely because they only got like 3 hours Saturday night, and then we stayed up all night Sunday night. So part of it was competition based, and part of it was party based. So um, yeah, they're working now. They're downstairs. I'm upstairs in the shop. They're downstairs working on our Nashville car.
Yeah, sounds like they're working hard. I can hear a little bit of stuff going on in the background. I love to see it, and definitely love that you gave them, some flowers after the race, after their hard fought effort. Moving on to Nashville, another track that you've won at. On NASCAR Reddit, which I casually browse, I was interested to see that all six of your wins have come at different tracks. What is your position with that? And why is it that Ross Chastain wins at places that are kind of unexpected? And should I expect to see you winning at tracks you've already lifted the trophy at, or do you think I should maybe put my money on a track where you haven't had the best success at moving forward?
If you'd have put some money on us at the 600, you'd have won a lot. I think we weren't
Yep.
great odds. So yeah, the odds are going to go down now. But yeah, I don't know why we've been able to win at six different tracks, but yeah, I want to break that. I want to be a repeat winner at these places and keep winning often and at different places and just often just keep winning. That's my whole it's why I wake up every day at this point in my life. So um, not sure. I've seen the new trophy, the guitar for this year. It's a really cool one, so I'm ready to take that thing home.
And what is it about Trackhouse that has such significant ties to Nashville? I feel like a big part of your team, representation is there's a lot of significant Nashville ties. Can you help me understand that?
Yeah, the idea of Trackhouse started in Nashville. So Justin Marks first thought of thought of Trackhouse in Nashville as he moved his family there several years ago, and that's where he first put it all like basically on a whiteboard and down on paper of what he wanted to do and cup racing and drivers and crew chiefs, and as he was penciling it all out to figure out how he wanted to do it, it all came out of Nashville. And then one of the first companies that he went to for sponsorship was Tootsie's. Mr. Steve and that group, he went to him and said, I here's my idea. I'm going into this. I'd like you to be a part of it. And Steve was a big race fan. He grew up just a couple blocks from the old Fairground Speedway and is a big part of why that place is still around and puts a lot of effort into that, keeping it alive and going, and has sponsored cars locally for decades and is on a cup car now. So cool that we were able to run second with them on the car at Texas a few weeks ago. Now we're coming off a win, going back to Nashville. I have told them I won't be partaking in the festivities. I'll be there for some parties and some stuff throughout the week, but I'm going to be sipping on a watermelon mocktail or something going in to the race. I've got the Xfinity race and the Cup race. So, yeah, winning at Nashville a couple years ago was a huge, huge deal for us. Really big.
And I know obviously you were driving the car, but I was watching this weekend from the coverage of Amazon Prime, NASCAR and Prime for the first time at the Coke 600. I really appreciated the fact that they gave, at length post-race interviews, and I thought the coverage was great. I know, again, obviously you were wheeling the damn thing, but from your perspective, from a driver's perspective, what was it like having them kind of showcase your sport from where you sat?
I thought they knocked it out of the park. I think they've got some experienced analysts on the broadcast. They've also got some newer people on the broadcast that are bringing a unique and fresh perspective to their roles. And yeah, they just bookended the race with a lot of coverage. And they, from what I've watched back, I've watched about half of the race back in different pieces. A lot of two-box coverage where you still know what's going on, even under caution. Like, we're idling around under caution and you can still see us. So you never, or you didn't as much miss out on as much. So yeah, a lot of coverage. I thought Adam Alexander did a great job calling us to the win. Dale even got in a few words on the backstretch when the 24 hit the wall. So that's very unique to see your main, and I don't know what their technical titles are, but like Adam give up part of the backstretch to Dale, who I don't think that position usually calls that last lap the way I really notice it usually. So yeah, that was cool to see them working so well together. Pumped for Adam around such a long time and getting this opportunity, on Sundays. I think they did a great job. And look, I know, and the people that I'm talking about probably are not listening to this show, but I told my grandparents several months ago, they were complaining that they don't have streaming and they don't have Prime, and they don't. I said, but Mimi, all you need is a credit card and a little patience. And with the 30-day free trial, you're going to get most of it for free anyway.
That's right.
I mean, the things we waste money on in this world, Amazon Prime for 5 weeks is for Prime Video. It's not as much as we all spend on other wasteful things. I feel like of grabbing a coffee, at a coffee shop or something.
I love it. You're gonna have to send Mimi your credit card info so she can watch you win at Nashville as well here.
Well, they were watching on their computer,
Okay.
and I'll be on. They don't have a smart TV, but they were watching on their laptop on my Prime account. I gave them my login, so I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but I said, here's my login. Log in. I'm not using it. They were worried it was going to charge me when they watched. I'm like, no, it's not how it works. So they're logged in on my account on the weekends since I'm not of course I'm not using it.
Yeah. Obviously a lot going on in motorsports this weekend. And I'm curious to know, like, obviously the Coke 600 is the latest race of the three on Sunday. Did you tune into F1 at all? What's your take on them kind of breaking up motorsports Christmas with next year kind of moving the Monaco race and there's not going to be a triple header anymore? And then also in IndyCar, Chip Ganassi and Alex Palou ended up winning. Was that the car you were rooting for? Did you have rooting interest in that race?
So I didn't watch anything of Formula One, and I lightly follow it, but not this weekend. Just was too busy Sunday morning, sleeping in for like the beginning of the race. And then when I did wake up, I didn't put any effort into watching it. Indy, we were kind of keeping tabs on it throughout the day, and I'm a big Alex Palou fan. I met him when we were both driving for Chip in 21, and he came and hung out in Charlotte. I saw him up in Indy that year, so I got to know Alex a little bit. And man, the tear he's on right now is incredible. Pumped for him to get his first oval win in the biggest race, biggest racing spectacle in the world, I really think, and in their series for sure. So super happy for him and Chip. And yeah, proud that Alex and I won these races on the same year. That's something that we'll always remember now. So we texted about it this week. I shot him a text and he fired one right back. So we had some fun with each other. It's cool. He's a great guy and super fast racer, obviously. So glad that it was him. That's my guy in IndyCar.
I love that. And I know you got a lot going on, obviously, coming off a win. You're super busy this week. We appreciate you giving us some time. But before I let you go, the last thing I got, can you describe Nashville to the casual NASCAR fan? What makes it different? What makes it unique? What can we expect for this Sunday?
It's pretty hard to describe. It looks like a mile and a half, like Charlotte and Kansas and Texas, but it's smaller. So I don't remember the exact specs, but the corners are narrower and tighter and flatter than a lot of mile and a half. So a lot more brake, downshifting happens often, and feel pretty slow on corner exit, and then feel really fast on corner entry because it's such a tight turn. So a lot of potential. Concrete. So imagine going across like an overpass bridge, and you feel those up and down bumps as you get on and off the bridge and across the seams on the interstate. It's that, but we're going, twice as fast at least, if not more. So definitely rough up and down, and there's a big bump off turn 4, which we've seen a lot of people crash at, and it's easy to have happen. So just outside of Nashville proper, technically in Lebanon. So a lot of people that go to the race are also there for the party, and some good live country music.
Love it. Well, Ross, thank you so much. Congratulations on winning the Coke 600. We'll be tuned in this Sunday to see if you can do it again and get your second guitar at Nashville. Something to look forward to. We appreciate your time. Continued success this year. We'll be pulling for you.
All right, buddy. See you soon.
All right, so that was Ross Chastain. Spider, fantastic job as always. And it's a tough thing to get these guys week after a race. Go ahead.
It is. I mean, it's tough. I feel bad for Ross. I would have loved to speak to him at length. I probably only got to maybe like half of the questions I had for him. I wanted to ask him. I asked Carson Hocevar what Ross said following the Atlanta race. I would have loved to hear Ross's take on that question. There was a lot of other stuff that I wanted to get to, but I understand. I mean, unfortunately, when you win, there's just champagne problems. You have limited time. Everyone wants time from you. Everyone wants your attention. So, unfortunately, we couldn't have more time, but I appreciate Ross giving us the time that he could. Nonetheless, Trackhouse has been great, and it was great, rubbing shoulders with Daniel and Julia this morning, and then also having Ross on Zoom this week. I will say, I think Trackhouse is spending all their money on the cars because that was, if I didn't see him in the team shop, you could have told me he was coming to me live from a fucking Starbucks Wi-Fi connection. Yeah. It was really bad. So Justin Marks, if you're listening, my one critique would be maybe pay for the higher internet speed because he was a little bit robotic. And but other than that, great. Ross has been good to us. I like rooting for him. Easy guy to root for. Great celebration. And then, as you alluded to earlier in the show, Large, great story with the Brandon McReynolds ties. Everything coming full circle. And then, always good to see an exciting first-time winner every season. So glad to see Ross win. I do think it's interesting. Someone on the NASCAR Reddit pointed out all 6 of his Cup Series wins have come at unique tracks. So he's pretty diverse in terms of his skill set. He can kind of get it done wherever. And moving forward, someone remind me of that stat. And I'm only going to bet on Ross Chastain on tracks where he has never won before, because that might be the secret to cashing a Ross Chastain ticket.
Yeah, he fits the mold as a disruptor too. Like, it's always who's going to be the fly in the ointment. Like William Byron is going for a sweep. Nope, not so fast. Even in the championship race where Blaney had won the championship, not so fast. I'm still grabbing a W. Obviously, riding the wall. All his stuff seems to have some degree of drama and interest around it. But
he's an easy guy to root for, Large.
Yeah, and if he just he's barely has better internet service than me, and I'm in a Courtyard Marriott somewhere in fucking Missouri. So get on the stick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nashville. So we have Charlotte is in the rearview mirror. Nashville's up next. And it's going to be on Amazon again. NASCAR on Prime lights up Music City. Who's got what it takes to tackle the concrete at Nashville Super Speedway? Walk away with NASCAR's coolest trophy. You could stream the NASCAR Cup Series at Nashville with the Cracker Barrel 400 Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, where music meets motorsports, only on Prime. So make sure you tune in and talk and get to witness some of the greatness that we had seen last week in Charlotte. We have another triple header this weekend. And unfortunately, it's not all on Prime. Trucks Friday night at 8 p.m. is the Rackley Roofing 200 on FS1. Kyle Busch will be wheeling the 07 for Spire. And Akinori Ogata will be in the 63.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's my age. Akinori Ogata. Good luck to him. Xfinity is Saturday with the Tennessee Lottery 250, which starts at 7:30 p.m. on the CW. Ross will be in the 09 for Junior Motorsports. And we mentioned above that the Nashville Race Cracker Barrel 400 will be on Prime, and Joey is the returning champ. We're at the halfway point of the regular season. Byron is the regular season points leader after this weekend, and he just signed a long-term contract with HMS. Obviously, congratulations to him. Larson is the playoff points leader. Bell and Larson, both 3 wins, and they both have 9 top 10s each. Larson's led the most laps this season with 831. McDowell has had the most fastest laps, at Xfinity fastest laps with 3. Blaney is somehow 7th in fucking points with 5 top 5s, but also I think 5 DNFs. And Chase Elliott is another one who I think we should give midseason flowers to. No wins, but he's 4th in points, career best 11.2 average finish, and he's not finished outside of the top 20 this season. So we've got a lot of shit going on this season behind the scenes. So I think we're going to start to do some playoff predictions probably next week, now that we're like past that hump. But also keep in mind that Sunday's race, the Cracker Barrel 400, at the conclusion of that race, the 32 driver grid is going to be set for that in-season tourney that will be starting the following week, with that pool vying for $1 million prize, right? We're going to do the 32 driver bracket. Right now, competing for that last spot are Brad Kay, Shane Van Cheeseburger, Riley Herbst, and Cole Custer. So after this week, we'll have the 32 in place for that midseason tournament, which I'm very much looking forward to. Let's talk about where we're going, and let's make some picks and picking the tires. As always, it's brought to you by DraftKings. The NBA Finals are almost here, and every play could be the one that changes everything. This is the NBA playoffs, where heroes rise, legacies are built, and the action never lets up. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, you don't just watch the madness, you live it. Back your favorite team. Ride with your clutch time killer. Bet on the buzzer beaters, the breakout performances, the game-winning threes. From player props to same-game parlays, this is how you take your fandom to the next level. And if you're new to the game, no sweat. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll score $300 in bonus bets. It's that easy. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use the code RUBBIN. That's code RUBBIN, RUBBIN, for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. I do not have any kind of signal. I'm on the same Cricket wireless that Ross Chastain was on, so I'm not seeing lines. Can someone please tell me what Chastain is to win this weekend?
Chastain's 11-1 to win.
I'm taking Chastain to win this weekend to follow up on that win, because I think that would be something kind of cool, something kind of disruptive. And then my chalky pick is going to be Larson, who is, I'm assuming, what's his odds?
Larson,
he's the favorite, I believe.
He's 4.5 to 1.
So I'm chalky with Larson, a little less chalky with Chastain, and then I'm taking. And plus, Chastain's going to have some reps because he's pulling double duty this weekend, which I love. And I'm also just going to take Eric Almirola in the Xfinity race. So those are my 3 bets. I'll take Eric Almirola on Saturday, and then Chastain and Larson on Sunday. I wanted to get that out of the way just because I didn't have a sports book that was able to come up. What do you guys have?
Love it. I'll go next. I'm going to take Chase Elliott this week.
Good.
I think he's 14 to 1 on DraftKings. He's a guy that's won here, and if you look at driver averages in the last races since February 2022, he is currently 5th. And the two drivers ahead of them are Kurt Busch and Zane Smith, 2 guys that have only raced here once since February of 2022. Chase Elliott has an average finish of 7.7 in 3 races. He's got 1 win, 2 top 5s. I like Chase Elliott. As you said, Large, you just spoke praises about him. I think he gets his first win here this season. First win of the season here at Nashville this week. 14-1 is a generous price. He's definitely going to be on my card. Outside of him, and another guy I just mentioned, Zane Smith. He finished here second last year. He really turned some heads. There was some unique names in the top 10 last year, including Zane Smith, who finished, like I said, second. And he's going to be on my card for a top 10. The other names I'm intrigued by, and this is all last year's top 10 results. Ryan Preece finished fourth. And again, that was in a Stuart Haas car. That's not in the RFK equipment. He's looked good in this year. So Ryan Preece is a guy I'm going to have my eyes on. Bubba Wallace finished here seventh, and he's not racing this week, but Daniel Hemrick was ninth. Noah Gregson was 10th. AJ Allmendinger was 11th. So I would expect maybe some.
What happened in that race?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There might be a glaring storyline where
it was the Nashville race last year was the one where Logano saved the
that's right,
ungodly amount of fuel, and there were a ton of overtime.
Oh
yes. Yeah, so maybe that explains it, but either way, I like Zane Smith for a top 10. I like Chase Elliott to win the damn thing. There's currently not top 10 odds up on DraftKings. I'm sure that'll be coming. We're recording pretty early. It is Wednesday afternoon.
Oh,
so,
no, they're there.
Oh, are they? Zane Smith top 10.
Plus 350.
Oh, give me that all day. So Zane Smith plus 350. I'm taking Chase Elliott 14-1 plus 1400. And then I'm in the truck race. I'm going to take Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is plus 275. Corey Heim is plus 130. So it's really going to be, in my opinion, Corey versus Kyle. And given Kyle's experience in the truck series, I'll take him plus 275. So those are my three picks for this week. I might add an Xfinity pick on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. And then I'm also going to have a pick six lineup as we get closer, and those lineups are posted. So stay tuned for that. But Nashville, great track. We've been there a couple times. Unfortunately, every time we go, Large, it's simultaneously 100 degrees, but also raining.
Yeah, exactly.
So like we can't win. It's like ungodly hot, but yet yeah. If it's not fucking beating down sun on your head, it rains, and then the skies open up, and then they finish the race. So I'm looking forward to watching on Amazon Prime. We won't have to deal with rain or excruciating heat, but definitely a fun race all the time. So hopefully Amazon can do it 2 weeks in a row. So those are my picks. Like I said, I'll have a pick six out, and I will add a Xfinity pick. But I'm going with Zane Smith top 10 plus 350, Chase Elliott outright winner 14-1, and then Kyle Busch plus 275 in trucks. I might add another Cup Series outright winner, but that's what I'm rocking with so far.
Cool, nice. I'll give mine super boring because I had a really good feeling about it, and it's going with one guy, Chase Elliott.
Love it.
Which was sad. All the same reasons, but also just a gut feeling. He's been nothing but solid this year, and I think this will be the race where he gets that P1.
Hell yeah. Moonhead, what do you got, Moon?
Looking at the top 10s, I like Allmendinger top 10. Also, I like Suarez top 10 with the Trackhouse momentum. I know I always play the momentum card, but they're historically good at Nashville as a team. So I like those guys top 10. And then going over to a winner, I like William Byron to win it. I think he's one of the strongest drivers in Cup right now. And if Joey Logano doesn't get in his way, I think he has a pretty good chance at winning.
All right, so that's
Awesome.
it for the three of us. Spider, I think before we record again, we're going to do that golf tournament again with Blaney in Indianapolis, right? You're doing that?
Yeah, so I'm going to the Barstool Classic. I know Large is at the Barstool Classic in St. Louis right now with our Dive Bomb clients. Shout out Dive Bomb, we love you.
Yep.
But Blaney is coming to the Brickyard Crossing. For those unfamiliar, at the Indy 500 at IMS, there is 4 holes of an 18-hole golf course that are 14 of the holes are right beside the track, and then 4 are actually in the infield. So I'm looking forward to being at that event, and I think Blaney's going to come participate in it with us. I'm not sure who his other, partner will be, but should be fun nonetheless. And try to get involved in the Barstool Classics. I think they're great events. They're very fun, and I love to see our NASCAR friends getting involved themselves. So I'll be at that one. Should be a great time.
I'm gonna be doing that one too. So I'm going back to back with these guys.
Hell yeah! Is that the next one, Large?
Yeah, it's Monday.
Wow.
So we'll have a good time with that. We'll report back to you. But that's it this week for Rubbin is Racing. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.